I start this walk at the quay in Porthconnell, where you initially land on St Agnes, and we'll walk anti-clockwise around the two islands of St Agnes and Goo. The Isles of Scilly are made up of about 140 islets, and these islets are particularly dangerous to navigate prior to modern navigation equipment, and as a result there are over 150 documented shipwrecks around the islands. Some of the figureheads of the ships can be found on display at Tresco. I have a video of that coming up soon, so keep an eye out for that. I'll highlight some of these wrecks in this video, as well as some other interesting things about St Agnes and Goo. I did shoot this video over 2 days, so please bear that in mind in case you wonder why I keep changing clothes. After walking past Porthcillia, we come to one of 2 freshwater pools on the island, named Big Pool. Just by the Big Pool is a sports field with a cricket pitch where St Agnes compete the off-island triangle competition against St Martin's and the Tresco and Briar cricket clubs. Out in the distance on the Tins Walbert outcrop by Burnt Island, you'll see a navigational transit day mark erected by Marine Civil Engineering Sea Corps in 2002. You can walk out there at low tide. Burnt Island is the location of the first shipwreck on our walk. A ship called the Charlotte Dunbar was found ashore and abandoned on Burnt Island on the 18th of January 1881. It was a wooden-hulled brigantine carrying coal from Newport to Ordienne. Nothing was heard of the 6 crew members. As we enter the Cove of Periglis, we come across the old lifeboat house. It was built of jarrah wood from Western Australia and was operational for 30 years from 1890 to 1920. The lifeboat slips here are the longest in Britain. As we pass the parish church, I stop and say hi to this little fella and pass where I'm camping for my stay. Not a bad view. Just past Carnew Point, we get to the location of another shipwreck. On the 8th of June 1886, the Earl of Lonsdale was wrecked in thick fog carrying cottonseed from Alexandria to Portishead. The master thought the ship was to the west and 10 miles south of Bishop's Rock. A costly mistake. A little further on we come to the Troy Town Maze. To be pedantic, it is in fact a labyrinth, said to be built in 1729 by the son of the lighthouse keeper from a much earlier labyrinth on the same site. It is the only one outside Scandinavia made of beach pebbles, which may indicate it to be of Viking origin, who were raiding up until the 12th century. However, any evidence to prove this was probably lost due to a rebuild in 1988 by an ill-informed visitor to the island. It is thought by walking the labyrinth it promotes well-being, so I walked it just to make sure. We now get to Castle Veen, where the wreck of the HMS Firebrand, a Royal Naval ship, was lost on the 22nd of October 1707 in the Scilly naval disaster. She was one of 4 ships lost heading to Falmouth in a convoy when in the dark at around 8 p.m. they found themselves amongst the rocks. As many as 1,200 to 2,000 men were lost. The Firebrand itself lost 23 of her 40-man crew. I take a slight detour here to the Standing Stone, appropriately named the Nag's Head. This stone is most likely naturally formed though. As I get to the other side of St Warner's Cove, we come across St Warner's Well. It is a holy well dating back to the Celtic times. Originally built on a natural spring, it held religious significance connecting to the underworld. Dedicated to St Warner, a mysterious figure who arrived from Ireland on a wicker coracle. The well is associated with the tradition of throwing pins as offerings. The practice aimed to either guide ships away from the treacherous rocks, or, in a darker twist, lead them to the rocks for plundering. In modern times, people occasionally offer coins for good luck, and the well spring still provides water for most of the year. There is another wreck off the coast here at Porthaskin. The Plympton struck rocks here on the 14th of August 1909. All the crew were saved, but a man and a boy from Hewtown on St Mary's were lost without warning while unloading grain from the Plympton. Later in 1920, a German ship, the SS Hathor, was wrecked here after getting towed by 2 German tugs from the Azores and abandoned after the tow broke. The crew was saved by a lifeboat and the SS Hathor lies on the wreck of the Plympton. Here at Horse Point are the last 2 wrecks in this walk. The first was on the 10th of September 1951 and was the Scilly packet steamer, the SS Cylonian, which ran ashore in thick fog on Wingletang Rock. The 54 passengers were taken to Hughtown by the company launch. She was later refloated and continued in service. The other ship was also lost in thick fog, but on the 11th of May 1917, where the Italian steam collier, the SS Italia, was wrecked on the Great Wingletang Rock. A girl from St Agnes, who was the only witness of the wreck, wasn't believed because the wreckage that washed ashore was thought to have been from another ship, the SS Lady Charlotte, which was lost at Porthhellick on St Mary's on the same day. When the crew of the Italia reached St Mary's, it was assumed that she had been torpedoed somewhere off the islands, as none of the crew could speak English. The SS Italia was finally identified in 1964 when her serial number was found on the ship's patent log. This is Beedy Pool, where brown and black and white beads can occasionally be found, washed ashore from a merchant shipwreck. I go inland a little bit again to Wingletang Down and look at the punch bowl, a naturally formed Logan stone. It stands about 10 feet or 3 metres tall. You'll see lots of these boxes on your walk. They are there to catch rats. The island is free from rats to protect the birds that nest here, and these boxes can maintain that rat-free status. I now head into Coveen, probably my favourite part of the island. I love the sandy beach and the sheltered cove here. After meeting some pigs, I get to the bar where at low tide I can cross over to Goo. The vegetation on the island mainly consists of wind-pruned heath and dense bracken and bramble, along with small coastal grassland formed from blown sand near the bar. The island is pretty small, only about 1 kilometre long and about half a kilometre wide, with Kitten Hill being the highest point at 34 metres. The geology here is interesting, with Hercynian granite and different soils. Goo shows some of the earliest signs of human activity with 2 sets of entrant graves and Bronze Age cairns. Unfortunately, the lack of finds, likely due to acidic soils destroying evidence, makes dating these monuments challenging. Some pottery remains, suggesting a late Neolithic or early Bronze Age timeframe. The sea around the islands are particularly clear for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the islands are not known for having rivers in the traditional sense. Unlike larger land masses, the Isles of Scilly are relatively small and low-lying, and they don't have significant river systems. The islands rely on rainfall and underground aquifers for their freshwater supply, rather than having rivers. Because of the lack of rivers, there is no silt that can be washed out to sea from the islands. Secondly, little erosion on the islands happens as they are made up of the Cornubian batholith, a large mass of granite rock formed about 280 million years ago, which lies beneath much of Devon and Cornwall. It's the same hard-wearing granite that you find on Dartmoor. The Old Man and Goo is a 2.7 metres tall standing stone at the base of Kitten Hill. It's the only menhir excavated on Scilly. On Kitten Hill there are 5 entrance graves, with one, Obadiah's Barrow, being excavated in 1901 by George Bonsall. The English Civil War left its mark, with a battery built over one cairn repurposing its chamber as a magazine. Civil War defences are concentrated around the Cylonian coast, particularly to guard deep water approaches. Part of Goo is a scheduled monument, and the entire island is recommended for scheduling. I head back over the bar to St Agnes. With a slight downhill, there are views of Goo over Porthconga, and finish my walk at the pub where I started from. Well, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this video, so please give it a like and subscribe. So until next time, take care.